What's up, lovely souls? Welcome to episode 5 of Men Have Feelings Too. Who knew? With my guest today, relationship coach for men, Brandon Archer. Welcome. I'm so happy to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. This is awesome.
Of course. So tell me how you got into coaching men.
Oh my God, just straight to the big question. It's coming up on 6 years ago. Next month, I had a heart attack while I was training on my bike. And that was a catalyst to look at my life. I wasn't happy. I was stressed out all the time. And I figured that's probably not the way you're supposed to live life. And I had started a relationship just after that heart attack, and it was challenging. And she challenged me to be better. So I started looking at different ways to be better, and stumbled across the book No More Mr. Nice Guy. And in there, he suggests men's groups. So I found an online men's group, and that was in January of 2019. And that fall, I went to a weekend retreat, men's weekend retreat, 3 days, intensive men's work. And at that point, I'm like, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to do in life. I'm supposed to use all the shit that's happened in my life and help. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah. We can't see it at the time, but all that shit is actually like a huge gift,
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of things when it comes to stepping into what we're here to do.
Yeah, 100%. And that pain, any pain you have in your life, you can actually turn it into something pretty beautiful if you take the time to do it.
I agree with that 100%. So I'm curious how the quality of your relationships have changed since you have done this healing work.
Oh man, that's a big question. Well, today happens to be the 1 year since a breakup of the most impactful relationship I've had in my life. And I've been sitting a lot with that today, reflecting on it. And the quality of relationships evolves. It evolves almost daily, to be honest, if you really look at it. And that particular relationship showed me the work I still had to do on me, not for her, for me.
Sure. Yeah.
And that was an eye-opener because I had done a lot of work up to that point. But to be honest, I wasn't healed. There's a difference between doing some work on yourself and healing. It's two very different things.
Huge difference. Yes.
Yeah, I actually had a friend reach out to me today about relationship stuff, and he's like explaining what's going on and how he still feels like he's not worthy enough of this woman he's dating. I'm like, man, that's unhealed. It's like, no, I've healed it. I'm like, I would, a year ago, I'd probably agree with him. But now that I've gone through that journey myself, I know healing is very different than doing some work on yourself and having self-awareness.
Absolutely. And it's not like, we can think that we're healed and everything's great. And then we get in a relationship and it's like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. And if it's deep enough, if the relationship is deep, you just go deeper into the wound you thought you healed. Like, that was my experience. I had done healing around my wounding, but then she just blew me wide open. Like, the depth of connection we had, I'm like, crap, here we go again. I thought I dealt with this, and I had on a surface level, but you can go deeper. And yeah, romantic relationship is generally the catalyst for men where that happens.
Yeah, for humans. Yeah. I feel like a lot of people don't use that opportunity when they are triggered in relationship to go into shadow work. But it's so, I mean, that's where some of the best shadow work can actually happen.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty important you don't ignore those things, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you really want the relationship you say you desire, if you're triggered, if you're irritated, upset, those are the times, man. Those are the times that you're being invited to look in. It's not about the other person. Like it's nothing to do
No,
with.
I mean, their relationships are a mirror. The love is about, the other person, and it's not about like what you can get. It's kind of about like what you can give and all that. So that's kind of like, but the healing is, yeah, the shadow work, that's all about you. The triggers.
Yeah. And it's very easy to get caught up in like, well, they upset me. I'm like,
Mhm.
no, let's reframe that. Something that happened caused you to have a reaction. That's actually what's happening. It's not the other person that's doing anything to you. And that's such a common belief, right? Well, they did
Oh,
it. They have to change. I'm like, well, I don't know about that. There's some other things you got to look at before you can point fingers, right?
yeah. And it's so nice when you can be in relationship and not even want them to change, you know, like not even want to fix them or anything.
Yeah, that's controversial, but
What do you
right? Because
mean?
people, well, just people think, well, if they didn't do that, we'd be fine. Like
Right.
that's not what it's about. It's not what it's about. Like if you're trying to change your partner, there's something wrong there. That's not a healthy relationship if
Somewhere
you
where
can't
you're
accept.
dishonoring your boundaries or something.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, because it's all, and it's so hard to understand that when you're in it. Well, I'm just upset at them. Yeah, you are upset,
It's like,
but
who's
at
upset?
them, yeah, yeah. What part of you is upset?
Yeah,
I do a lot of inner child stuff
me
now
too.
with the people I work with, and it's like that little person in you is the one that's upset.
Yes. And why are they upset?
And why? Why?
Go back to the first time something like this happened to you. And usually it's just, yeah, I love inner child work for that.
Yeah,
It's,
it helps get to the root of things so fast, in my opinion. You can
Mhm.
heal so much faster because I have found you don't even need to know why you're triggered, like the past. You just be like, that little person inside of you is upset. And now, how can you, as higher self, comfort them,
hold them. Exactly. Because it's not your
hold them?
partner's job to hold your little one.
And holy crap, I did that my whole life. Like, hey, he's upset, come and hold him. And so I've spent a year alone learning to hold him, right? Like,
Mhm.
oh, damn it, this is my job. How come nobody told? How did I get to my mid 40s and nobody told me that? It doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, no, I know. I didn't learn that until I went to school for hypnotherapy, so don't feel bad.
Yeah, yeah, but it's a game changer, right? It's
Sure
just
is.
reframe how I show up. I don't, and now the like interesting benefit is you have so much more compassion for other people too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, so much more respect and a sense of like honor for their process, and yeah. Yeah, compassion is a good word.
Yeah, because if you like see somebody in the grocery store and they're having a bad day, you can kind of go, oh, I wonder what their little person is upset about today,
Mm,
versus like, man, they're being a jerk. It's like, well, if you have a limited kind of view on what's happening, yeah, that could be, but we have these wounded kids inside of us that need us, and if nobody's shown us how to do it, the behavior that happens is kind of autopilot, right? It's kind of
Oh
on
yeah.
autopilot.
Yeah. And what do you think about when the little one wants to show up in a certain way in a relationship and it's not in alignment with your goals and desires? What do you think about giving that little one another job instead of suppressing them?
Mm, you not sure I understand the question, but suppressing, giving them another job.
So instead of just saying like, you can't show up to this relationship at all, right? Because the little one probably likes your partner too.
Yeah.
Give them another job, like, well, you can be in charge of keeping things playful and fun and lighthearted, right? Instead of just like, get in the
Right.
basement.
Yeah. 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 I do it a little differently in that I have a dialogue with him on a regular basis to see what he wants. So it could be, I want to play more. I'm like, rad, we can do that. If
Yes.
it's like, I want you to call her because I'm feeling really needy right now, I'm like, no, sorry, man, can't do that. I got you. I got you on that one. Right.
I love that.
So
Yeah.
I don't necessarily give him another job. I just show him what I can do for him. Sometimes I
Mm.
have to tell him no. Sometimes I have to
Mhm.
tell him no. And yeah, like the play thing's a great example because yeah, we could play. Generally, your partner's okay with the play part of your inner
Yeah.
child coming out.
Yeah. So embodiment. What do you feel about like spiritual embodiment versus like the ethereal spirituality?
Mm. Um,
Do you work with embodiment a lot in your work?
yes, in a roundabout way, because I do like teach men about their nervous systems and what's going on. It's all tied together, as you know, inner child and nervous system and all these things. And that does equal embodiment once you kind of tie them all
Sure.
together, in my opinion. So I find, I think this is the question you had. There's a lot of information out there it's like spiritual bypassing, really.
Yeah.
It's like there's a ton of it because it's easy to sell. It's like no disrespect to course programs because sometimes they're really good, but you don't take a 6-week course and you're healed and you got this shit figured out. It
Mm-mm.
doesn't work that way. But it's easy to sell like, hey, come and learn to communicate with your spouse better. Yes, you can. But the underlying issues of why you're having problems is the embodiment. It's not understanding that you are a spiritual being first. You happen to have a mind, you happen to have a body. And as you pull those things apart and go, oh crap, here I thought I was my body, my feelings, my thoughts, my behavior, all intertwined. That's a mess and super hard to navigate, right? But I find if you pull them apart, and it's not compartmentalized, somebody said that, Mike. No, that's not what I mean. It's just put a little space between everything so you can actually
Mm-hmm.
navigate what's going on. Now you're able to embody being a man, being a human, because you're like, oh, okay, so my trauma or my past is showing up in this way, which affects my nervous system this way. And finding tools to like, I was going to use the word calm them down, but regulate them. Like we're dysregulated. Society's dysregulated. Our nervous systems are on fire all the time, and you can't operate well from that place.
Mm-mm.
So to me, embodiment is like, first of all, acknowledging that that's happening and then taking the time. Just like if you're training for a marathon, this is no different. You have to train your body, retrain your body to have a new experience.
Yes. And the subconscious and then the nervous system is a huge one because that will just fire off and we will be acting in ways where we're just not in control at all.
Yeah, it's it's easy to see once you lay it out in front of people. They're like, holy
Yeah,
crap. But it's not like a common thing that we're aware of. We just like, was it 95% of our behavior and our actions are programmed, but like we're on full autopilot by the time we're
mhm,
35. 95%. You're only
I
making
know.
5% of, like, that's crazy.
Yeah, it really is.
Yet we just
Our
accept it.
preferences and everything, we're just like, oh, we're in control. We like this and we like this. And but why?
Mhm.
Why do you have these beliefs and preferences and patterns and all of it? It's just so interesting to begin to like unwind all that. And then once, so many layers have been unwound to where you can notice the contrast, I feel like that's like even causes more unwinding of it.
Yeah. It's like you have a system to unwind it by that point, right? So it's
Mhm.
like, oh, okay, I get how to unwind things now.
Yeah.
And as
Yeah.
they show up, it's like it's a shorter time span to unpackage things as they happen to you. And
Mhm.
to me, all those sequences, it's part of embodiment. You have to just like be constantly aware of what's going on internally, emotionally, physically. If you're having a physical reaction, that's your nervous system going, hey man, something's up right now. And it's an invite. Again, it's an invite to like look into it once you have the awareness, right? So we just go on autopilot or 95%. And I now believe that like fight, flight, or freeze is on a scale. 10 being like you're freaking out. But I think I'll speak from my experience and then the men I work with. Like I was at a low 1.5 to 2 my whole life, probably a
Mhm.
3, probably more like a 6 when I had my heart attack. But you just accept it as that's normal.
Yeah, that's just how things are. You're just stressed and it's because of your life. It's because of the external.
Totally, totally, just complete dysregulation. But that is not the way it works. It's not the way we're
Mm-mm.
designed to be. And the world comes at us so fast.
Especially
Streams,
nowadays.
news, everything. We simply can't handle that. We're not designed to handle that.
Mm-mm.
Technology's gone like through the roof in the last 100 years, and we've not evolved fast enough to keep up to that.
And do we even want to? Is merging with technology even the right? I think it's a divergent path.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Me either. This is about as far as I'm willing to go. I'm
I
not
hear
going to be
you.
seeing clients in the metaverse.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So
Right.
weird.
Yeah. I hear you.
I feel like we're on this path where we can either like merge with this like artificial technology and maybe like even lose our connection. Not, I don't know, maybe or kind of like cut off our connection to source or whatever. And then we're also given this opportunity right now to merge with spiritually, with the spiritual
Mm,
technologies, with our higher selves, with all of this stuff. So I feel like there's kind of like two paths that humanity is going in right now. And it's like really interesting to see.
isn't it? Yeah. COVID
Yeah.
kind of like COVID did that, right? A lot of people
Oh,
learned to, well, they had to sit with themselves. And they're like, whoa,
yeah.
what's going on? And yeah, some people chose to use it to go inward, and it torpedoed a lot of people too, I think.
Yeah. I've seen so many people, just diving into healing now. Men, women, I just think it's so beautiful
Yeah.
that
It's,
people are caring about, making themselves whole and not looking for that in something else or someone else,
yeah.
because they'll never find it there.
No, I tried for a long time. It's not there.
Me too. Oh man. So I would love to hear, I'm curious about what you think about polarity.
Yeah. Love that topic. a lot. I mean, I definitely teach masculine, feminine polarity, but doesn't start where people think. It's internal first, and then it shows
Mhm.
up externally. You can't do the dance unless you understand the internal dance of that polarity. And it is a
Exactly.
dance. It's 100% a dance. So, like, I'll speak from a man's standpoint, and there's so much in our world anyway, our coaching world, about masculinity. What is it? It's confusing for men. It's super confusing. How do I be more masculine?
Mhm.
And then I've seen like guys and myself go like, oh yeah, I learned all this stuff, how to like be more masculine. But it was only half the equation. It didn't work for me. It got me in a lot of trouble, actually.
Yeah.
So once I turned to the feminine internally and understood what it was and how to have a relationship with it, now I can understand polarity with a woman in a way that is almost defies words. It's an energy. It's an energy, but it's not like I'm masculine all the time. Look at
Right.
me. It's a dance. Like I'm not having an awesome day, I'll admit. And I had a call with the girl I'm seeing, a woman I'm seeing, and I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of struggling, and this is probably counter to like the energy that you've got from me up to this point. And she's like, nope, actually the fact that you can like you own it and you just say it
Mhm.
and you are in it is more attractive,
Oh, yeah. Vulnerability
more
in a man.
masculine,
Mhm.
more masculine. So that's where like it's confusing for men. Like it's a
See
dance. i
that?
i feel really tender today, like straight up. And that doesn't make me less of a man,
Hell
doesn't make me
no.
less masculine. I have to have that contrast internally. I have to. I'm human.
Yeah. That's such a big issue in society. Like even from young boys, the boys are raised to think or to believe like you have to toughen up. You can't show your emotions. You have to act like a man. You can't act like a girl. Don't show those emotions and act like a girl. And then the men grow up and they don't know how to express emotionally and be vulnerable. So it could either manifest as either like not vulnerability, but expecting your woman to kiss all your boo-boos, or being totally shut off. And then the woman is like, my man doesn't know how to show emotions. Da, 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 da. So it's like their whole life, they're emotionally kind of like, I'm trying to grab the word, not berated, but
Well, just mixed signals.
yeah,
It's like you feel the emotions and you're told, don't,
don't feel it.
no, you're not allowed to have that.
But then when you get older, you're like,
So
why
it,
can't you
it,
have
it
that?
creates, but it creates shame from a child's age.
Mm,
You shame your emotions. Like, think about that. You shaming how you feel. That doesn't
mm-mm.
compute.
No,
Like, and it's still 2022. I'm shocked. Like,
still happening now.
watch parents in public, and I'm like, oh my God, you're just doing it again.
It's
Like, there's
heartbreaking.
a lot, yeah, there's a lot of work to do in the world on this still.
Yeah. And there's all these feminists out there like, women have it like really horrible. Maybe at some point, but right now, like the emotional subjugation that our boys and men are dealing with, I think is definitely more prominent.
Well, and that's the medicine, is those men healing, because the feminists, that shit's just gonna go away.
Yes.
You don't. A healed man is a very loving, powerful, safe human being,
Hell yeah.
and he's not going to berate women, and he's not going to feel threatened by her feminine like power. Like, y'all are really goddamn smart, and like if we could just accept that, and that you don't judge us, like basically on that, and we take your counsel. I'm going to call it counsel versus like um, pestering or nagging. It's like, no, no, no. Like, I challenge men that I work with. It's like, okay, she may say those things and you may not like the way she presents it, but is she right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have to admit, yeah, she's right. It's like, well, maybe if you could emotionally like not operate at a 12-year-old and operate like as a mature, emotionally mature man, things would feel different.
Yeah.
Maybe she wouldn't feel like she has to go into that energy and nag you because you would accept what she says the first time. Don't have to do it. Like, that's the thing. It's like guys are like, well, I don't have, like, she can't tell me what to do. It's like, she's not actually trying to tell you what to do. She wants you to listen, and then she wants you to make a decision based on what you think is right.
Mm-hmm. Which can get, depending on the woman, it could be that she's trying to like control and change. So I guess they just have to like feel into that situation and trust,
Yeah,
their own
totally. And
knowing.
that would be her unhealed masculine wounding,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I until I'm open to discussion on this and other viewpoints, but until men collectively provide safe spaces for women, I don't think we have too much to stand on as like pointing the finger,
Yeah.
because a lot of women haven't experienced a safe man. Like, don't know what that is.
Mm. Yeah.
And it is a recipe for magic very, very quickly.
For sure.
So the woman I'm in a relationship with, she knows I'm a coach. She doesn't know any of my teachings. And I just showed up. And I did this on purpose because dating's been weird when people know what I do. So I'm just like, I'm going to tell her what I do, but she's not on social media, which is like, who's not on social media in 2022? She's not. It's awesome. So she doesn't see any of my stuff, and she's expressing how different this relationship is. She just feels safe. She's used terms that you and I would use in coaching world, but she's
Mm-hmm.
coming up with them on her own by her experience.
So it's truly felt.
It's felt. It's like I
Beautiful.
haven't I'm not leading her into that space where she has those words. She's just like, what is happening? I've never experienced this in my whole life. It's really quite beautiful to witness. And it's why I speak so passionately about this. It's like, I'm not making this stuff up.
No, I can feel that for sure. So would you say that are you familiar with the term sacred relationship?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think I'm not, super read on it, but my feelings on it, interpretation on it is the dance. It's the dance of the divine masculine, the divine feminine. And if a man can show up in his masculine, divine masculine, I will say, because I do use that term now, surprisingly. Um, it, in my experience, allows her to be in her divine feminine very quickly. I had another relationship, and she was probably the divine feminine, and I was still figuring this thing out. And I'm like, I have the theory, but I can't show up properly.
Mm-hmm.
Like full fully admit it, I could not show up the way I wanted to. I wasn't healed. So when I hear like sacred union, I hear it's these two divine energies doing the dance together. I
Yeah.
don't think there's, well, I know that the masculine leads. It's not a competition. It's not a um, you do what I say.
Yes.
Like
I've been
I
in some
am
polarity groups that are very much like that.
no. It's like I've healed my feminine, so I am going to um, interpret how you are showing up and do my best to see what you need without like, what do you need? What do you need? I'm going to make decisions. And if they're wrong, you're going to tell me, and I'm not going to act like a little boy and have hurt feelings. I'm going to be like,
Mm,
okay. And we pivot together.
hell yeah. That's real leading. I was in this polarity group that was just kind of like misogyny disguised
Mhm.
as polarity. I was kicked out of the group, but yeah, they were saying things like women should not have boundaries, only standards. If you buy your man a gift, you emasculate him. Um, Men must always be in their masculine, or else they're going to give their woman anxiety. All of these things, I'm just like, holy shit. The man always pays, always plans all the dates. She just has to be like open. He can tell her what to wear, basically. Like, so if he's planning the dates, he'll tell her what he would like for her to wear. I'm just like, what?
Yeah, it's misogyny.
And
It is.
the only thing that she has to do is just gift him with her love, sex, and radiance. What
It's like,
a fucking joke.
yeah, that's not the way
That's
it
not,
works.
no, no.
I always think of like Egyptian, well, there's many cultures, but the masculine is always represented by the sun and
Mhm.
the feminine by the moon.
Yes.
So the sun gives, the sun is the life giver, and the moon is the receiver. But that's where men are so not healthy enough to be able to give properly without expecting something in return, that the polarity doesn't work if you don't heal. Like straight up, you have to heal for this dance to work properly. And I always think of that, especially in that story. Like it sounded to me like that polarity group is like the woman has to give everything to the man. I'm like, what? How about that's like a little boy mentality? It's like
Yeah.
mommy, take care of me. Like, what the hell
This
is
was
that?
coming from a deep place of like insecurity. So they're wanting to dominate.
Yeah, it's fear.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fear. And I believe it's fear of the feminine in their full power. Because
Right.
y'all are, Jesus Christ, I've experienced some powerful women and they used to scare the shit out of me. It's like you see right through me. Like, and how do I, it's not easy, but it's like not the right way to like put you in your place. How about if I'm like so okay with who I am as a man and I've healed, that I'm not threatened by your power because I know I'm powerful too. But my power
Mm,
is not to put you in your place. My power is not to be better than. It is, we are equals, but we're different. And the magic that happens from acknowledging that, the relationship like goes to these places that everybody wants, men and
yeah,
women want, but that all that misogynistic stuff, like it's got to go out the window. Because
totally.
if I as a man show up, I am love versus fear. This always used to confuse me. You can't give from an empty cup. Okay, I understood it, but I'm like, how do you do that? So fear versus love, it's polar opposites. When you are love, I have endless love to give.
Yes.
So now I show up in relationship. It's like, I'm not here for anything other than like, I don't need anything from you.
Mm-hmm.
There's no secret agreements hiding. There's no like subconscious, oh, I hope she
Agenda.
does this. There's nothing. So now I show up that way. Our man shows up that way. And all I want to do is like give love and support. And I'm safe emotionally because I've like healed that part of myself. I don't need her to be my mom. I don't need her to help me process my emotions. In fact, I will be so aware as a man when it's like, okay, I need some time alone because little boy in me needs some attention. All the things in that misogynistic group you were in, women, this has been my experience. They just open up and it's like gifts.
Mm-hmm.
So the masculine gift is the safety and the container,
The safe container.
And her gifts are all those things that they were saying you should manipulate her to do, but she wants to do it.
Yeah.
But as a man, you can't expect that. You just have to show up and be like, yeah.
And you can't, as a man, close your channels to receiving either. I mean, in order to do the dance internally, the channels of giving and receiving have to be open and flowing. And same within the entity of the relationship, right?
Oh,
Because if you're in relation, this has been my experience when I've been in relationship where those channels were constricted in some kind of way, whether it was giving or receiving or both, it showed up in every other area of my life like that. Like how I could give and receive in career or friendship. It was just an energy that carried everywhere.
yeah. Yeah, I love that because my similar to you, I just word it differently. I was been in fear my whole life, which is like fear of receiving, fear of like a whole bunch of things.
Mm-hmm.
And as I move into from fear, lack, scarcity to love and abundance, it's not just one area of my life, it's everywhere.
Yes, it's like every single area of life is just kind of infused with this essence of divinity.
Yeah. And also my experience with that is that's healing the feminine. The feminine is the receiving one, like the Egyptian sun and the moon. I need to heal that so I can receive her gifts.
Yeah.
If I'm just like, no, I'm this masculine warrior,
I just need to give, you know.
that's not going to work, right?
No, I think that was probably the archetype that was going on in that group, the warrior archetype, for sure.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of that in men's work lately because it appeals, right? It's like, I want to be aggressive. I want to tap into this beast. And I'm like, I get it, man. But you have this other side too that you can't ignore.
Yeah. I like in men, the manifestation that I like to see is the lover and the magician.
Mm.
Those two archetypes are really nice. But yeah, so there's kind of like a healed version and an unhealed version of each one though.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like there's parts of the warrior that can be a healed version of that could show up beautifully. And there can be parts of the magician that could show up like very manipulative and, you know, parts of the lover that can show up very needy. Right. So I guess it's just all depending on like where they are in those archetypes.
Yeah, I've moved away from the archetypes because was it just yesterday, the day before, I had a call with a man and I'm like, I believe men just know what they need to do. It's just in them. It's just
Okay.
in them. They don't need to think about what archetype they're in. If they're heal, they know intuitively what to do and when to do it. But it gets so detached from our authentic selves, higher self. We're so programmed that I think things like the archetypes, well, I'm not saying there's not a place for them. I think it gets us in our head. Let's just think about where I'm supposed to be. How about we just shelf that for a minute and just heal and listen to your heart and your male intuition is a real thing. You know what your woman wants and when she wants it. You're just scared shitless how she might react because you might get it wrong.
Yeah. Maybe the archetype thing is more feminine because I use a lot of that in my embodiment work.
Mm.
Like, like the lover archetype with women, and just like the medicine woman, and just like, embodying and really feeling into those different energies and the potency and power of them. But I also see what you're saying, how it can be very kind of like intellectualized too.
Yeah, I've experienced that with men taking King Warrior Magician Lover book and making like all these worksheets and shit around it. Like,
Yeah, that's definitely like, woo, up here,
Yeah.
But I feel like the archetypes could be a good teaching to bring it down, and maybe it's okay to intellectualize them at first, to just kind of get like a basis of what.
Yeah, I think there's something to that too. I really do, because my journey was like, oh, I want to understand stuff, and that works to help understand. And then I'm like, okay, now I just want to heal so I can like be all these things really well.
Mhm. It's like
I think you're
understanding
on.
it and then bringing it in.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Understanding it and feeling it, which is, intellectualizing up here. This kind of like energy is consciousness, the masculine, and then just bringing it in. It's just that dance that we've been talking about again.
Mhm. Totally.
There's so much wounding in the feminine from the dark masculine too. Like a lot of times when I work with my clients, they don't understand like why the same type of man keeps showing up to them, until we start like getting into like, well, how do you really feel about men?
Mm.
And usually how they really feel about men is the exact man that shows up in front of them. So working on building a relationship of like reverence for the inner masculine, and unwinding all those patterns, that were kind of like templated from, the patriarchy or whatever, which is harmful to everybody. Right. And just the rise and fall of like the feminine and masculine, the rise and fall of the feminine and masculine. I think we're rising into a place where both can shine.
Hope so.
Yeah, we are.
We're working on it.
I'm doing my damnedest to make sure of it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Said something. I lost my thought there. The wounded, yeah, the dark masculine. I have a question for you on, like, from a woman's standpoint, the collective like view on men, because I think there's almost an expectation that they are dominant versus like loving and caring.
So when I feel into the collective view coming from a wounded place, before these woundings are alchemized and you can clear out the distortions, I think some of the beliefs are men are controlling. You can't trust them. Men will use you. Men don't know what they want. Some of the beliefs are like men are not even necessary. I hear a lot of this in feminist circles, that like, we don't even need men anymore. We can just like go have babies in a different way or whatever. So like men are unnecessary. Men will only hurt you. I mean, there's so many false beliefs from these wounds in the feminine that are not from the masculine at large, but they're from like the dark manifestation of the masculine, which is just a very small part, right? That's been in charge for years and years and years and years and hundreds of years. So now women are thinking that's the masculine. That's so far from the truth.
I know. It's very sad. Very like, in my opinion, they have a right to think those things, because that's what the experience has been for the last few hundred years, like overall. And that's why I said earlier, like, when I don't think they've experienced a safe man.
And while they may have the right to experience that or to feel that, it's not serving them. And it's keeping them from expressing their feminine in the fullest form. I wasn't able to express my feminine to my fullest form until I was like to a place where I'm like, I fucking love men. I have such a reverence for the masculine because I just see the beauty.
Yeah.
I see that there's some of the most like giving, caring, open, you know?
Yeah.
And
that's amazing. How did you do that?
I don't know. I feel like so a lot of shitty relationships and a lot of me being in my own masculine and my own unhealed masculine, and just looking at that and starting to unwind those patterns and unwinding them and just really feeling into what was underneath all that grief. And what was like, and when I did that, literally it happened in like a coaching session. It just opened up this like portal. And I went in the bathtub and just, you know, not just for myself, but ancestral lines from the women, like my mother, my grandmother, I just grieved for all of it. And it just cleared it like all out. And even before then, like, you know, I was wanting to work with men. I've been around men like my whole life. I used to be a dancer. So I've had so many experiences with the dark masculine. And, but I knew, even though at that point, I was not really having personal experiences with like the higher divine masculine, I knew, I felt it. I felt it, and then I felt it first, and then I started to see it. And then it started to show up in my universe. And then like even in like little ways, and like my teachers in school, and then just like, and then I just like, my heart just started softening. And then like now, every man in my life is just divine to me.
Holy shit, that's beautiful.
Thank you. I feel so much gratitude.
Yeah, that's wow.
So I feel like that's what I'm here to do, is to help guide women to alchemize their wounding in regards to the masculine, so they can open up their own divinity in their masculine and feminine, so they can come into union externally. Thanks for letting me share that.
That's just like mic drop. I don't know what to say. It actually reminds me kind of what I had an experience earlier this week about, like, and it really got me thinking about men's views on women and our responsibility to the feminine collectively, not just your partner. I'm talking collectively.
Sure, yeah.
And there's something there for me in understanding it, and I feel like it's a similar experience to what you have that probably still needs to happen for me, where I just like, I think I do appreciate all women. There definitely was a time when I thought I did, but it wasn't true. But I think there's still more there for me to explore. So after you shared that, I'm like, okay, I haven't had that powerful of an experience, so maybe I'm not there yet.
I mean, there's just layers. We're always right where we need to be. And just
Mm,
trusting that and surrendering to that has been something that I've been working a lot with lately. Like the energy of
yeah,
surrender is just such a
me too. It's
whoa.
yeah, I am right there with you. Yeah, surrender is so fascinating and so counter to a lot of masculine men's work teaching. Like
Mhm.
plan shit out, goals. It's like,
Grasp
yeah,
control.
it's like that's all a fucking illusion anyway, man.
Yeah,
And yeah, but in surrender, oh my God, it's beautiful. It's a challenge though. It's a challenge to
it
stay
is.
there.
Especially when you have no idea what you're surrendering into. That's if you are like, oh, let me just surrender to this. Okay, cool. But when you're surrendering to like the abyss or oblivion or what, it's just like, all right, here goes.
Yeah, yeah. I love that you brought that up just because I think that as a man is such an important thing to be able to do. It's like you still have to plan, you still have to have goals, you
Sure.
still have to like be striving and leading, but not being not being attached or like surrendering to like, yeah, I'm gonna do my best and it might not work out the way I think. That's some pretty grounded shit right there if you can do that.
Yes, I agree. And you know, when you surrender, the universe just wants to give to you. You know, like it's like, oh, you trust me? Fuck, well, here. And it's just, you know, I'm still like getting through layers and layers of surrender. And I think this is probably an energy that I'm going to be working with for at least, I would say at least the rest of this year.
I am right there with you on that one.
Yeah, but it's definitely a potent and powerful one. So what brought you into working with the energy of surrender?
Um, Trying to make my desires happen with brute force and feeling the tension and the anxiety that that was causing me, and definitely understanding, you know, manifestation and going like, okay, so basically I can have whatever I want, but I can't force it. And I kept trying to force it, and that was coming from fear. It was coming
Yeah,
from fear.
lack.
It was yeah, it's coming from lack. Like I lack and scarcity is my old programming, and I am overcoming it. But yeah, how did I get to surrender? It's like I was sick of that. I'm like I know there's more here, and just going deeper and deeper into understanding what my personal hurdles were. Um, and yeah, surrendering to everything, like surrendering to the fact that, yeah, guess what? You've been operating in fear and lack and scarcity your whole life. Now surrender that. Just let it go. It's not as easy as just letting it go, but
No, but
basically. And then surrendering to the love and abundance that, like you said, the universe is just like, hey man, I'm just waiting. It's okay. Like,
yeah.
and depends on, you know, there's different ways to look at it vibrationally. It's like there, everything I want is here, but I'm still down here and I just have to like match it. That's it.
Mhm.
That's my
And then
job.
it's like a magnet, like
Just
comes
match the
right there.
effect. Yeah, and that's like when I share this with men, they know it makes, but it is a big, big like counter to what they were shown about work hard on all the really harmful ways of being, the
Toxic.
things that cause stress. That the you know they work so hard, and they're in the mid-30s and they've got the house and the job and the kids and the wife, and they feel like shit.
Why?
So,
like,
yeah.
so I've worked hard, and it's like, then they come to this realization, like, I've been fucking duped. I've worked hard my whole life. I go to church. I do this. I do this. I don't even know my wife. I'm an ATM machine. My kids hate me because I'm never around. I'm always working and my boss isn't happy enough. What the fuck is this shit? It's just like,
yeah. Yeah.
And I'm so happy that like we are unlearning all of that.
Yes.
All of the religious templating, all of just like the hustle culture templating. It's just so freaking extractive. Like, what can I get out of this? What can I get out of, like, and you end up getting absolutely nothing.
Literally nothing. And it robs you of the moment.
Yes.
Like, the only thing that matters is the moment.
Yes.
The past is gone. The future's not here. It's like right now.
Yeah. I help so many of my clients with this, like at the spa that I work at. I have so many men that just come in that are exactly in that energy. Like they're never in the moment because they're always thinking, well, how can I do more in this moment, in this moment? And so it's like, I try to say, like, the man who is standing out in the moon waiting for the sun to rise and standing out in the sun waiting for the moon never sees any of them, never sees either of them ever, ever, ever.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, yeah. It's like, yeah. And presence presence is the biggest, most profound gift you can give somebody. Like, I was with a man that lived with me for, all the time. Like, he was here all the time, not present. I feel more gifted by spending like 2 days with my current partner. I feel more gifted by that presence because it's real presence.
Oh, I know. And it takes work, it takes work. And like, the man not seeing the moon or the sun, like you said, it's like all these things not being present are a product of kind of society and your programming. It's like, it's okay, man. It's okay. It's okay. It's not your fault, but guess what? It's time to do something about it. You can. It's not a death sentence. You don't have to stay there.
Yeah. And when you are in your truth like that, it's like you kind of help others to rise into that.
Yes. I was thinking that earlier. It's like one person at a time, you can change the world. I honestly believe that, because it's not just, if you or I work with a client, it's not just that one person we're helping.
It's a ripple effect.
It's like, I got a message from a man I work with, his wife, and she's like, thank you so much. And I'm like, holy shit, like ripple effect, right? Like, didn't just change his life. It's pretty cool.
It changed hers, and she might tell her girlfriend, who then helps inspire her man to do the same thing. And then he tells his friend, and then it's just, you never know.
You don't know. And this man I'm talking about, I sent him an email after we were done our coaching relationship. I'm like, you're now a leader, man. Like, what you did, you're now leading by example other men, because they're going to see the change in you. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Pretty profound. And it's almost kind of like our duty to do that.
I fully agree.
To show up in that way, so others can be like, oh, I can actually do that. And it's like, yeah, if I came from where I came from, which is the deep, deep depths, just like I was going to talk about this earlier when you were talking about being in a state of fear and your nervous system coming from a very like fear-based and trigger, like you were in the depths of that, right? It brought you to heart attack. So being in those deep, deep depths is allowing you to reach the high heights.
Yeah.
And showing other people that I was down here and I can get up here, so can you.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
And
right.
you got to be grateful for that too.
I needed the contrast. I needed the contrast to understand. Like I needed it. I fully thank the universe for all the shit I've been through.
Yes. And that can be the funny, tricky thing about that is there can be like the gratitude, like I'm grateful for everything, can be a bypass too. But you can feel the difference when it's not. You can feel the difference in other people when it's not, when they're talking about it. You can feel like if what they're saying is flat or if it's real, if it's deep.
Yeah.
You know,
but I do ask the universe not for a repeat of 2021. I'm just going to say that out loud to the universe because
yes, noted. This has been such an amazing chat. Is there anything that you would like to share with us that we haven't touched on?
No, man, we touched on a lot of different things today.
Yeah.
I just, I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk about it. You actually challenged me on a few things that I have to go away and think about now. So I really appreciate that.
I appreciate you being open. So willing to share your gifts with the world and helping men heal. I think, again, I'll say that is like one of the most beautiful things on the planet to me. So how can people find you if they want to work with you?
Easiest way is the good old internet, brandonarcher.com. And from there, you can find my social media or send, if you want to have a chat, there's a button on there and you can book a call and we can just get to know each other.
Sweet. I'll include all that in the show notes.
Awesome.
It's been awesome, Brandon.
Yes. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, of course. Thank you for being here and being present. Have a beautiful evening.
You as well.